Okay, this next video is quotes from a couple of famous people. The first one is Charles Sheffield. He was an English physicist and sci-fi writer. He says, if you want to be at the leading edge of anything, you have to, by definition, be a couple of standard deviations ahead of the rest of the group. And that's going to make you seem like an oddball. The trick is you have to learn to accept it, then to like it, and keep on making a lot of noise for what you believe in. So yeah, that's the truth. That's another thing too, why a lot of people don't want to go there is, as soon as you challenge convention, you're all of a sudden an outsider on your own with powerful forces against you. So most people aren't willing to do that, because some people sometimes say to me, oh, why are you so arrogant? And I'm like, if I was a wimp, I couldn't do what I've done. Nobody can rewrite all the internal medicine textbooks by being a wimp. Next quote, Charles Sheffield. You can never create a good society based on deception. It has been tried before and it always fails. The trouble is people won't learn from history. Yeah, the mistakes of history, they always get repeated. We're headed back into slavery. And, people just aren't even aware of it. But it's obvious, okay? Bring in a bunch of third worlders to destroy Christian civilization. Then once it's destroyed, force has to be imposed on chaos. The force will eradicate anything it doesn't like, which will be anything Christian. And then it'll eradicate the other ones brought in to get rid of the Christians. And then there'll be slavery. That's what's coming. It's so obvious, but nobody gets it. Okay, Percy Bysshe Shelley lived from 1792 to 1822. He said, as a young man, Shelley was known as the atheist of Eton, or the Eton atheist. Shelley got kicked out of college for ostentatiously promoting atheism. Shelley was shameless in begging money from people and often not paying them back. Yeah, Percy Bysshe Shelley was a scumbag, okay, just so you know that. He wrote a few good poems, but he was a lowlife, and he was in the middle of sort of like the early days of feminism as well. Okay, Shelley was highly fluent in Greek and Latin. He was notorious for seducing women and then even marrying them and then trying to coax them into threesomes and then dumping them. Shelley ruined several women, and the consequences were pretty bad for a woman in those days. It wasn't that easy to get an abortion, okay? It's rather shocking to see how ruined these women were after Shelley got through with them. He neglected his children. He was a terrible parent, and he thought he was entitled to cheat on his wives. Paul Johnson wrote a good book about some of these so-called intellectuals, like Percy Bysshe Shelley and Victor Hugo and other ones. Paul Johnson book, again, is called Intellectuals. A couple good lines from Shelley. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? We are all Greeks. Our literature, our religion, our arts have their root in ancient Greece. But if it were not for Greece, we might all still be savages and idolaters. Yeah, it's true that pretty much anybody that's really studied history, what you come to the conclusion of, if you give a pretty wide study of history, is that pretty much all the ancient population stunk except for Greece. Okay, Greece was the best. And yeah, they were totally stuck up. All populations since the beginning of time have been stuck up. They think they're the best, and they think everybody else outside of them is a lowlife. But for the ancient Greeks, it was actually true. They were the best, and they considered anybody who was not a Greek as a barbarian, and that was reasonable by their standards of their day. They were so far ahead of anyone else, it's not even funny. They were way ahead of the United States today. Okay, the last line from Percy Bysshe Shelley. The period between the birth of Pericles and the death of Aristotle is the most memorable of any history in any country of the world. Yep, that's true too. Okay, now for William Shenstone. If you're interested in studying ancient Greeks, my recommendation would be read the book by Edith Hamilton called The Greek Way. That's the best introduction. Then watch the videos by Rufus Fears. And once you got that under your belt, then you can start learning other things about them. You can go to these YouTube channels that have biographies. Watch the biography of Socrates, of Plato, of Aristotle, also Thucydides. That'll be enough to give you the big picture. Then you can start filling in the gaps on whatever else you're interested in. Like go to the Greek mythology sites. That's really good stuff too. William Shenstone, English poet and landscaper, of all things. Okay, he's got a few good quotes. He says, humility is to genius what an extinguisher is to a candle. Yeah, what I would say is, like, let's say you're a writer. You have to be a little dramatic, because how else do you get people to remember something? And like in a face-to-face conversation, for example, you can make hand gestures, you can make facial gestures, body language. But when you're writing a book, you got nothing but what you say, exclamation marks, a little bit of punctuation. So you got to try to create a little drama there. If possible, add a picture, a drawing, or something to make it more memorable for the audience. Because good writing is not just information. Real good writing is, I'll call it infotainment, information and entertainment. Because entertainment is part of what makes it memorable. Rhetoric, impact booster, something to make them remember it. So they have to remember it for it to be useful to them. Okay, Shenstone. Anger is a great force. If you can control it, it can be transmuted into power, which can move the world. And what I've seen is, I know a lot of people, everybody gets disrespected and insulted and stuff. And what I've noticed is when I get insulted and disrespected, I tend to get pissed off, but I use it in a good way. I say to myself, I'm going to show that asshole that I'm so much smarter than they realize. It's not even funny. And that's good. You know, like for example, I'm half Puerto Rican. When I went to my residency program, one of the real famous attendings said to me, "Oh, our first Puerto Rican in the wrestling program, in the residency program." He goes, "I'm going to have to make sure the hubcaps on my car are especially tight." And I just laughed because what was going through my mind's eye is, you just wait, pal. I'm going to be the best, smartest resident in the whole program. I'm going to eventually be the best, smartest resident that has ever trained here. You just watch. And in my opinion, I did show that. Whether he'd agree with that or not, maybe not, but I think so. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is, it would energize me to prove myself. So that's good, because some other people I know, I'll talk to them, and they get sad and down when people are mean to them. You know, for example, some people were mean to me. I won all these academic awards, and I won one that's, you know, for the minority student academic award. I was first in my class, 99% boards, and so some people were almost mad at me because I have a gringo last name, so to speak. But I was like, you know what? You should be happy. You should be proud of me. But they weren't. And so I was like, well, you can kiss my ass. I'm not some affirmative action lightweight. I'm the best. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, you have to have internal confidence and assertiveness and aggressiveness, because the world's always going to smack you down. So if you don't build yourself up, you're going to stay smacked down. So you have to be able to bounce out and say, just F you, I can do it. You just wait and watch. I'm going to prove it to you. So rather than be kind of crushed and sad. All right. Next, health is beauty, and the most perfect health is the most perfect beauty. Yeah, and that's what McDougall had a good thing about that, about talking about physical attractiveness. He says, the reason we're attracted to young adults more so than elderly people is because they look healthier. You know, that's part of it. They look better. But being healthy is attractive. You know, if you're slim, you're fit, you look strong, you look energetic, that's attractive. If your skin looks well perfused, that's good. Sort of that atherosclerotic, old, pale look, you know, half dead, lack of blood flow. That doesn't look good. That's not attractive. Okay, next line from William Shenstone. Deference is the most complicated, most indirect, and most elegant of all compliments. Men are sometimes accused of pride merely because their accusers would be proud themselves if they were in their places. A miser grows rich by seeming poor. An extravagant man grows poor by seeming rich. All right, so that's it for today. I hope you found those helpful.